So one big restriction with this is that they assume with Excel that there will be one cash flow per year, and each cash flow, or I'm sorry, the first cash flow starts 1 year from today. So it's the n equals 1 cash flow. So what that doesn't take into account is your initial investment, because we're doing the initial investment today at time equals 0, n equals 0, discount factor of 1, however you want to say that. But essentially, it's going to happen today, not 1 year from today. So if you're using the formula for net present value, that's an important thing you need to understand, because what you're going to have to do, So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to say, okay, well, what are the actual cash flows that are coming in years 1 through 5? Now, we're not talking about the present value of the cash flows, because the formula is going to do the present value for you. So instead, I want this to equal this, your actual net cash flow. And I'm going to bring that all the way down so that every year we're talking about the cash flow from that year up above, the net cash flow. Now, when you do get to the point where you're adding a salvage value, what's going to happen is you have to remember that your salvage value is going to be something that you add in here. And also you need to add it in right here. So we're going to add in the salvage value at B14, and that'll be the final year's cash flow. Okay, so now let's actually use this formula. And how does it work? We're going to type in equals NPV. That's your NPV formula. And here's the syntax of this formula, what they're looking for. So what they're looking for is the interest rate, because they're going to do the present value calculation and then net together the cash flows. So where we want an interest rate, that whatever this interest rate is typed in here, and we could do value 1, comma, value 2, comma, value 3, comma, but it's nice, and we could instead, it'll understand if instead we just take all 5 years worth of cash flows. Now, what that does is it calculates this value right here, the cash flows years 1 through 5. And if we had a salvage value in there, it would be adding in the salvage value as well, because I put it in right here. So, or I guess more accurately right now, it's adding in the salvage value of 0. So that's what that calculated right there. Now, what we have to do after that is we then have to subtract out the initial investment, because we want to say, okay, well, what's the present value of all those cash flows minus the cash flow that's happening today? And because Excel doesn't understand that if we started it at year 0 and put a negative 2 million here, it would have, it's not written to do that. So instead, we have to be cognizant to remove anything from the formula that's happening today, and then we will add it in later. And we're doing it as a subtraction because we're subtracting out that outflow. So that is how you do the NPV formula. So what I want to see is that whatever you've calculated up here is what you end up with down here. These two match, and that you're clear that you're using not the present value of the cash flows, not these values, but these values. You're letting the computer do the work in the calculations, but you understand its parameters, and you're putting the initial investment, whatever's happening at n equals 0, you're putting that outside of the formula bars. All right, so that is that is how you'll do the quantitative portion. Then I want you to go in and answer these questions. Out of these three, which is the most promising? Is there any you would avoid and why? Then these questions say, okay, so pay attention to how the net cash flows for each investment flow in. So basically, you're going to look at these right here. And I want you to look at each of these. And then I want you to tell me, like, what's the trend? Right here, I can say the trend is the cash flows are the same every single period. In one of them, maybe you increase cash flows as you go further out in time, or maybe you decrease cash flows as you go further out in time. But tell me whatever the trend is and what you see. Then I want you to kind of predict and say, okay, based on what I know about present value, does this make sense? And basically, it has to do with the idea that a dollar today is more powerful than a dollar in the future, in 5 years, in 10 years, whatever. And the way that we can really see that, or one way that we can see that, is we could look at our single sum and let's look at this 4% column, right? If we are only 1 year out, so if we are today, if we are n equals 0 and we're doing something, what's the present value of something today? We would multiply it by 1.0, right? Because $2 million today is worth $2 million. So we would just, we multiply it by 1 and that's the answer. But as we go out in time, like this is 1 year from today, well, we're not quite at 1.0 anymore. We're at 0.96. Then we go out further. By 5 years, we're at 0.82. In 10 years, we're at 0.67. So what you're seeing here, and that trend continues. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And what is this? 36 years out from now, the present value would be whatever that cash flow is times 0.24. So the present value would be significantly lower than the cash flow itself. So basically what that idea is that the further out in time we go, or the further out in time a cash flow will occur, that's a better way to say it, then it's less powerful in today's dollars because you have to wait a long time before you get it. Whereas if you only have to wait 1 year, it's not that long. And so the present value of a cash flow in 1 year is still pretty powerful because you're getting that money sooner than later. So this project definitely looks at that relationship. And so that's what I want you to keep in mind as you're evaluating the results. Okay, I think that's everything. I mean, this is actually a little bit more in depth with the explanation that I gave in my in-class section, and most people finished it within the hour and 15 minutes. But of course they had me there to help. So, always feel free to reach out with your questions. But I'm hoping this is fun and in your wheelhouse and not, not coming out of left field. It should be things that you recognize. So have fun. It's been a joy to have this online class. I feel like I've gotten to communicate with many of you. Thank you for not being strangers. And if you are a stranger, that's okay. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I guess we're not over, but I do feel like this is kind of my farewell video. And so it's been really nice for me. Looking forward to hearing any advice that you have for me on the FCQs. Those are due really soon. Don't forget. Thank you. It's been a pleasure teaching you. All right. I guess we're not done. Don't forget to take your exam.